A savage Minneapolis winter, the kind that gnaws at your bones before the sun's even up. Rachel Morgan's running shoes bite into crusted snow as she cuts through Riverside Park, her breath pluming silver in the icy dawn. Her cheeks sting, eyes stinging more from memories than the cold. Every step is a fight to keep her mind away from the old grief. Her husband's unsolved murder still shadows her, every morning, every mile. She's halfway across the old footbridge when she stops short. Something in the brittle grass by the oak. Not a bag, not trash, movement. Then a whimper, low and guttural, the kind you feel in your chest. She crouches. It's a German shepherd, chained tight to the trunk, fur matted with ice and blood. His chest heaves, amber eyes locking onto hers, wild but not feral, just exhausted, desperate. There's a badge at his feet, rusted and cold, a note, shaky letters. His name is Valor. I'm sorry. Please save him. He only tried to protect. Rachel's hands tremble as she strips off her jacket and wraps it around him. Her ER nurse's instincts kick in, check for breathing, look for wounds, keep him warm. Valor's head doesn't move, but his gaze never leaves her, as if he's memorizing her face. She tries her phone. No bars, not out here in the cut of the river. She screams for help, panic swelling when she sees the blood soaking through her coat. He flinches at the sound, but doesn't shy away. She recognizes the badge number. It's from the news. A fallen officer, K9 killed in the line, or so they said months ago. Why is it here? Why him? Something's wrong. Rachel grabs her pepper spray, scanning the tree line. She can feel it. Someone's watching. Heavy footsteps. Maybe nothing. Maybe everything. She backs up, trying to shield Valor, heart hammering as she waits for animal control. Time slows. Every crunch of snow behind her feels like a gun cocking. The sun creeps up, a thin line of orange through the branches. Minutes crawl by. Rachel refuses to leave, murmuring to Valor, promising him he'll be safe. For the first time since her husband's death, someone needs her again, someone who can't speak but whose eyes beg her not to go. The squad car finally arrives, lights silent in the dawn. An officer steps out, cautious, but Rachel stands her ground. He's hurt. Someone did this on purpose. Please, help him. She refuses to move even as they try to separate her from the dog. Valor growls, low, protective, even as he trembles. The officer softens, nods, radios in the situation. Rachel rides with Valor to the emergency vet. Her hands are numb, but her mind races. Who left him? Who wanted him dead? And why did they choose her to find him? As the city wakes, Rachel sits shivering in the fluorescent-lit lobby, Valor's head on her lap. He won't close his eyes, not until he's sure she's still there. Out the window, she sees a figure, a shape at the edge of the park, watching. When she blinks, it's gone, but the fear lingers and Rachel knows, whatever nightmare Valor's running from, it's not over. And now, she's part of it. The city's waking up as Rachel sits hunched in a hard plastic chair at the 24-hour veterinary clinic, the stormy gray of early morning leaking through the glass. Valor is barely conscious, a trembling heap on the table, but every time Rachel moves, his head lifts, his eyes following, sharp and loyal even in agony. Dr. Sonia Lee enters briskly, her coat flapping, snapping on latex gloves. She's seen cruelty before, but the moment she peels back the bloody, ice-crusted fur from Valor's haunch, her face blanches. Electric burns, old and new, crisscross Valor's skin, scars over broken bones that never set right. Teeth marks, dog and human. Starvation signature, ribs like piano keys, gums pale from slow hunger. "My God," Sonia whispers, voice cracking. "This wasn't an accident." Rachel stands, pulse thundering. He was left for dead. They wanted him to suffer. Valor shivers as Sonia gently examines his neck for a tag or chip. Nothing. Only a jagged scar where a microchip was gouged out. Whoever did this knew exactly how to erase a dog's identity. A tech brings heated blankets, saline, pain meds. Rachel watches, helpless, as Valor tries to rise, refusing to let any stranger near without Rachel close. His trust is razor thin, a trembling thread that only holds when she kneels and places her hand on his paw. Sonia draws blood for tests. She's shaking. I've never seen a dog survive this much, Rachel. He's not just a survivor. He's fighting for someone. She looks at Rachel quietly. Did you know the badge number he had with him? Rachel nods, explaining what she saw, how the badge belonged to a cop killed months ago. Sonia's eyes darken with a realization neither wants to voice. Someone in uniform might be behind this. Rachel strokes Valor's head, fingers sticky with dried blood. You're safe now, she murmurs. Valor presses his nose to her wrist, as if memorizing her scent. As they lift Valor to clean the wounds, Rachel notices something hard and angular tangled in the thick fur at his shoulder. She digs gently, fingers numbing with fear and cold, and pulls out a tiny USB drive, its casing smeared with blood and mud. Her hands freeze mid-air. What's this? Sonia takes it, wipes it clean. I'll check if it still works. Could be nothing, or… She doesn't finish the thought, but the tension is thick. Rachel cradles Valor's head, but her mind races. What secrets could a drive hidden in a dying dog's fur hold? Who was desperate enough to leave it with him, and why risk Rachel finding it? She glances at her phone. No missed calls, no new texts, but she can't shake the memory of that figure in the park. Valor, sedated at last, drifts off with a shudder. His paw clings to Rachel's sleeve, his breath rattling but steady. Sonia returns a few minutes later, eyes wide, phone in hand. Rachel, you need to see this. In the back office, the screen flickers with grainy night vision footage. Illegal dogfighting, men with blurred faces, one in a police uniform, shouting as dogs are shoved into a pit. Blood, snarls, horror, and then Valor, recognizably younger, leaner, his eyes haunted even then, refusing to attack, even as another dog tears into him. A voice off-screen, break him, or you're next. Rachel's stomach turns. On the edge of the frame, the badge number, the one from this morning. The footage continues, Valor beaten, dragged out, limp. Another video file, a meeting, voices distorted. This one's no good. Bury him. Make it look like an accident. In the background, the same officer whose name is on the badge, face clear for only a second. Rachel reels back, tears stinging. Whoever did this, he's not just torturing dogs. He's killing cops who won't play along. Sonia nods grimly, voice trembling, and Valor refused, again and again. That's why they tried to kill him. They hear a news anchor's voice from the waiting room. Rachel looks up. The TV blares a breaking story. Another canine missing in North Minneapolis. Possible links to police corruption under investigation. The department is urging citizens not to jump to conclusions. Rachel's blood runs cold. How deep does this go? Who can she trust? She presses her palm to Valor's side, feeling his heartbeat, fragile, defiant. The clinic's windows suddenly feel too exposed, every shadow outside a threat. Rachel steps into the hall, calls her late husband's old partner, Officer Kim Alvarez, her hands shaking. Kim, it's Rachel. I found a dog, Valor. There's something you need to see, and I think they're watching me. Kim's voice is wary, but there's something else, hope, maybe. Sit tight, Rach. I'll come to you. Don't talk to anyone else. Rachel hangs up. She looks at Valor, his wounds, his courage, the battered badge and blood-stained USB. She swears to herself right there under the buzzing clinic lights. She won't let anyone bury this truth. As she waits, Rachel feels the weight of 1,000 secrets pressing down, the sense that the nightmare is only beginning. Outside, snow swirls beneath orange streetlights, covering the world in silence. But nothing is buried forever, not the truth, not Valor. The next days blur together in a haze of exhaustion and raw fear. Rachel's small apartment in South Minneapolis is suddenly a sanctuary and a fortress. Curtains drawn, locks checked twice, the air thick with antiseptic and dog fur. She ignores every warning that comes her way. The animal control officer who hesitates before handing over Valor's pain meds. The anonymous tip. You shouldn't keep that dog, Ms. Morgan. Some things are better left buried. Even Kim Alvarez's initial concern. Rachel doesn't care. She's not letting Valor out of her sight. The dog barely moves for the first 24 hours. He sleeps fitfully on a nest of old towels, every so often trembling violently, claws digging into the floor as if he's fighting invisible enemies. Sometimes he cries out, a sound that chills Rachel to her core, raw and strangled, something no dog should ever have to make. Other times he startles awake at a car passing by, ears back, eyes wild until he finds Rachel's face again. Rachel's own nightmares return with new force. The hospital at night, the beep of heart monitors, the metallic smell of blood, the memory of the detective at her door after her husband's murder. He was in the wrong place, at the wrong time. Rachel, once steel in an emergency, now startles at the creak of the floorboards, at the wind rattling the glass. She tries to soothe Valor, sitting cross-legged on the floor for hours, humming lullabies she barely remembers. Valor's tail thumps weakly when she's near, and on the third night he drags himself to the bedroom door and collapses there, refusing to let Rachel sleep out of his sight. It's as if he understands she needs guarding just as much as he does. Their silent bargain forms. She promises not to leave, and he promises not to let anything near her. They share small, fragile victories. Rachel's hands shake as she changes Valor's bandages, but he lets her, only flinching once when she brushes a scar on his flank. She whispers, "You're safe now, buddy. I'm not going anywhere." He noses her palm, warm and trusting for the first time. One afternoon, as the sun melts dirty snow outside, Rachel fills a bowl with chicken and rice, sets it down, and waits. Valor sniffs it, tentative. For a moment, Rachel fears he'll turn away, but slowly, almost ceremoniously, he eats. The sound of his jaws working, the gentle clatter of the bowl, feels like a small miracle. Rachel moves through the apartment like a ghost, caught between her old life and this new, uncertain one. She finds herself talking to Valor as she moves, about her day, her late husband, her fear. Sometimes Valor's ears perk up at the mention of a name, especially Luke, her husband's. It almost seems as if the dog remembers too. She studies Valor, learns his quirks. He flinches at loud noises, especially sirens, but something about the way he snaps to attention, ears forward, eyes alert, triggers a realization. She notices the calluses around his neck, the thickened scars on his chest and flanks, the way he obeys certain commands before she even finishes saying them. "Were you police?" she whispers, sitting beside him on the floor. Valor looks up, and for a heartbeat, Rachel sees an old grief and pride reflected in his amber eyes. Kim Alvarez visits late one night, bringing coffee and her old service pistol, just in case. She sits across from Rachel at the kitchen table, watching Valor sleep by the door. "You sure about this, Rach?" Kim's voice is gentle, but she looks tired, haunted. Rachel nods. "They tried to erase him. They almost did. But he found me for a reason." She tells Kim about the scars, about Valor's reaction to police sirens, the way he stands at the door every night. Kim listens, sifting through every detail. "He's K9, no doubt. That badge number you found, it matches a unit from our district, the one they said died in that botched raid last year. The files disappeared, never added up." Rachel feels the old anger twist inside her. So they're covering for someone who wanted these dogs, these officers, gone. Kim looks down, fidgeting with her keys. "You should keep him close and watch your back. If someone's willing to do this to a cop's dog, they won't stop." The women sit in silence, the weight of shared trauma pressing in. Kim finally stands, rests a hand on Rachel's shoulder. "I'll be back tomorrow. We'll figure this out. Promise." That night, the world outside is silent, but inside, Rachel and Valor find a fragile peace. She drifts to sleep with Valor curled up at the foot of her bed, his breath slow and steady. She dreams, not of blood or loss, but of running through the park again, the air cold but the sun shining, Valor keeping pace at her side. In the dark, Valor stirs and opens his eyes, listening for the threats only he can sense. For the first time since he was abandoned, he doesn't feel alone. Rachel wakes to the faint tapping of Valor's tail against the doorframe. The first rays of sunlight filter in, glinting off the empty coffee mugs littering the counter. For a moment everything feels almost normal, a dog, a morning, a sliver of peace. But Rachel's hands shake as she checks the locks and draws the curtains tighter. The outside world isn't safe anymore, not for her, and not for Valor. She spends her morning combing through the USB drive again, unable to let the footage go. Faces blur in and out of the low-res video, dogs forced to fight, handlers with badges barking orders, men with guns, always in the shadows, always someone turning away. The voice of the cop, Brent Mason, keeps echoing, cold and detached. Break him or you're next. Rachel jots notes in a spiral notebook, names, times, phrases. Her training as an ER nurse helps her keep calm, but each detail she uncovers is another crack in her faith in the system. Mason was a supervisor, always praised for his work with K-9s. If he's involved, who else might be covering for him? She calls Kim, voice low. The drive. I found more names. I think Mason's at the center. Kim sighs. Exhaustion, skepticism, fear, all mixed in. Rach, I want to believe you, but if you're right, this goes higher than anyone wants to admit. She hesitates. I'll look, quietly, but you need to be careful. That evening, Rachel walks Valor through the alley behind her building. She tries to keep things normal for him, but Valor is hyper-alert, nose twitching, hackles raised at every passing car. Back inside, she finds a voicemail, an unfamiliar voice, cold and measured. You're asking the wrong questions, Ms. Morgan. Let sleeping dogs lie. Her blood runs cold. When she looks out the window, she spots a car parked across the street, engine idling, lights off. She tells Kim, who swears and promises to swing by. As the sun sets, Rachel finds her tires slashed, 3 deep cuts in the rubber. She calls the police, but they brush it off. Probably kids, ma'am. Nothing we can do. Valor bristles, pacing between the windows and the door, every sense straining. Kim arrives after dark, glancing nervously at the street. She watches the footage again, silent and pale. Then, near the end, a dog limps into the fighting pit, a golden retriever with a torn ear. Kim's breath catches. That's Duke, my old K-9. I thought he died in that fire. She bites her lip, fists clenched. They lied. They covered it all up. Rachel puts a hand on Kim's arm. We have to bring this to light. If Mason's behind this, there are more dogs, more people at risk. Kim's eyes blaze with new determination. I'm in, whatever it takes. Together, they set up camp in Rachel's living room. Valor, sensing the tension, plants himself by the door, unmoving, silent, his ears cocked at every sound. Every time Rachel steps into the kitchen, he follows, never letting her out of his sight. Late that night, Rachel's phone vibrates. An anonymous number. She answers, heart pounding, a woman's voice, hushed and urgent. Rachel Morgan, this is Julia Mason, Brent's wife. I don't have much time. He's dangerous. He's not working alone. I have proof. Meet me. Please, I can't hide anymore. Rachel freezes, phone pressed to her ear. Kim whispers, who is it? Rachel mouths the name, Julia Mason. Kim's eyes widen. Rachel tries to steady her breathing. Where? When? Julia's voice shakes. I'll send an address. Don't tell anyone. My life's in danger. He knows I've talked. The call drops. Rachel and Kim stare at each other, realization dawning. Julia Mason could be the key, the one person close enough to know everything and desperate enough to blow the whistle. But she's running out of time. Kim runs a check on Julia's phone. If Mason even suspects, she's in real trouble. We have to move fast. Rachel nods, adrenaline surging. Valor senses the shift, whining softly, pressing against Rachel's leg. She crouches beside him, stroking his fur. Stay close, buddy. We're not backing down. They print copies of the video, the photos, Rachel's notes, spreading them across the table, mapping out the players. The more they look, the clearer it becomes. The corruption isn't just a few bad apples. It's a network, handlers, officers, even higher-ups turning a blind eye, all willing to sacrifice dogs and people for profit and protection. Kim paces, voice raw with anger. How many more are there, Rach? How many dogs thrown away? How many officers killed for asking the wrong questions? Rachel doesn't have answers, only resolve. At midnight, Rachel double-checks the locks again. The phone pings, a text from Julia, just an address and a single word, hurry. Rachel looks at Kim. We're not just fighting for Valor anymore. We're fighting for all of them. Kim nods. slipping her badge into her pocket, tension carved into every line of her face. Valor settles at Rachel's feet, eyes never leaving the door. The night stretches, heavy with fear and determination. Somewhere out there, Julia Mason is risking everything to tell the truth. And Rachel knows, whatever happens next, she and Kim are not alone in the fight. The wind knifes through the dim motel parking lot on the city's edge as Rachel and Kim pull up, headlights dousing the peeling paint and ice-clogged gutters in a ghostly glow. Valor rides in the back seat, his head up, body tense, sensing the electricity in Rachel's movements. Every shadow feels loaded, every second drags. They check and double-check their surroundings, nerves on edge, knowing the risk, not just for them, but for Julia Mason, the woman whose secret might tear open everything. Julia waits for them in room 14, curtains drawn tight. Her hands tremble as she opens the door. She's younger than Rachel expected, exhausted and on the edge of collapse, eyes rimmed red from too many sleepless nights. She hugs herself, shivering, even though the room's heater huffs steam into the stale air. The first words out of her mouth, "You can't trust anyone, not even the police." Especially not Brent's friends. Rachel and Kim step inside, Valor immediately positioning himself between them and the door, tail low, a quiet sentinel. Kim flicks her badge just enough for Julia to see. "You're safe. We're not here to hurt you." Julia collapses onto the bed, hands covering her face. For a long moment she doesn't speak, just shakes with the burden she's carried alone. Rachel sits beside her, voice gentle. "We know about the dog fighting, the cover-ups. We need your help. This is bigger than any of us." Julia's confession comes out in fits and starts. "I kept everything. Emails, texts, bank records, even the videos. Brent didn't know I had them. He threatened me, said if I ever talked." She trails off, breath catching. "It started small, fixing reports, making certain evidence disappear. Then the fights, the money, the threats." Rachel listens, heart pounding, as Julia pours out the truth. For years, Mason has run a brutal underground ring, using K9s, killing those who objected, turning friends into enemies. "He made us rich, but I was always terrified." "My guilt. I helped cover it up, Rachel. I was too scared to say no." She finally breaks, sobs racking her shoulders, hands clutching at Rachel's sleeve like a child. Kim's jaw clenches. "Did you try to help any of the dogs?" Julia nods, wiping her face. "I freed some when I could. Valor. I snuck him out the night Brent found out he wouldn't fight anymore. He would have killed him himself. But I chained him in Riverside Park, hoping someone would find him. I'm so sorry." Rachel squeezes Julia's hand, feeling the woman's shame and desperation. "You did what you could. Now we protect you." Valor, as if understanding, gently nudges Julia's knee, warm eyes meeting hers, a silent forgiveness. The room falls silent except for Julia's choked breaths. She pulls a battered gym bag from beneath the bed, unzips it, and reveals a hard drive, stacks of files, even old burner phones. "It's all here. Every transaction, every officer on Brent's payroll, names, dates, everything." Kim's hands shake as she rifles through the evidence. "This is enough to take down half the department." But Julia is terrified. "He'll know. He always knows. I can't go home, Rachel. He'll find me." Rachel nods. "You'll stay with us. We'll keep you safe." Kim calls a contact at the FBI, Troy Bennett, a clean agent already suspicious of Mason's activities. "We have something big, but we need protection for Julia. Now." As they prepare to leave, Rachel wraps Julia in a blanket, promising she won't be left alone again. Valor presses close to both women, a living shield, always vigilant. The world outside the motel feels colder, the shadows deeper, but for the first time Julia breathes a little easier. Someone is finally listening. On the drive back, Julia sits in the back seat, eyes flicking to the rearview mirror every few seconds. "I always wondered how many people saw what Brent did, and just kept quiet." Rachel shakes her head. "That ends now. We fight for every voice that was silenced." Kim drives in tense silence, hand never far from her sidearm. "We need a safe place for the night. Not your apartment, Rachel. Too obvious." They agree to check into another motel under false names, Kim alert for any sign they're being followed. As night falls, Julia drifts off on the bed, Valor curled protectively beside her. Rachel stands watch at the window, the city below glittering, every headlight a threat, every phone vibration a possible warning. Kim sits at the table, scanning the files, her anger sharpening into resolve. Before sleep claims her, Julia turns to Rachel. Do you ever feel like you're finally doing the right thing, no matter what it costs? Rachel squeezes her hand. That's all any of us can do. Valor lifts his head, eyes soft and alert, a silent promise to stand between these women and the darkness gathering at their door. Morning comes cold and gray, but Rachel feels something new, a sense of courage growing between the three women and the battered dog who's become their symbol. Julia's confession is just the beginning. The real fight is coming, and for the first time, they're ready. It's well past midnight when Rachel jolts awake in the motel room, a bad dream fading as the world sharpens into anxiety. Valor, usually asleep by Julia's side, is up, ears pinned, nose pressed to the gap beneath the door. The heater rattles and somewhere in the hallway a floorboard groans. Rachel holds her breath. Then, a whisper. They're here. Julia's voice is barely audible, her eyes wide and haunted. Kim is already in motion, pistol drawn, peering through the peephole. The hall outside is dark, shadows shifting. Rachel pulls Julia close, her own heart beating in her ears. Valor growls, a deep, quiet sound, all muscle and warning. Kim lowers her voice, steady but urgent. Stay behind me. If anything happens, Valor stays with you. We do not open this door. A heavy knock rattles the frame. Police, open up. Kim shakes her head. They're not here to help. Another knock, angrier now. Morgan, we know you're inside. This is your only chance. The voice is Brent Mason's, cold, too familiar from the videos. Julia stiffens, shrinking back. Kim dials Agent Troy Bennett's private number with shaking hands. We're under threat. Mason's found us. We have evidence and a witness. Send help, now. Troy's answer is clipped. Sit tight. Honest officers are en route, but Mason has friends everywhere. Don't trust anyone but me. Rachel and Julia shove the dresser against the door. Valor's hackles rise, head low, eyes burning gold in the half-light. Outside, Mason shouts again. You have something that belongs to me. Give up the dog and no one gets hurt. Rachel's voice is ragged as she answers. You're not getting him. Glass shatters, a window down the hall. Boots thunder against tile, doors slamming as Mason's men sweep the rooms. Rachel hugs Julia to the floor, trying to cover her as Valor moves in front of them, every line of his body promising violence if forced. Kim takes up a position behind the table, the barrel of her gun steady. Suddenly a man in uniform tries the window. Valor lunges, teeth bared. The man jerks back, cursing, but not before Rachel glimpses a badge, one of Mason's inner circle. The siege is real. Inside, Julia clutches her phone. Record everything, Kim whispers, and Julia fumbles with shaking fingers, starting a secret recording. Mason's voice comes through clear as glass. We all know what's at stake, Morgan. Turn over the dog or everyone pays. He tries K9 commands, sharp, practiced, like poison on the air. Valor. A down! Heel! But Valor ignores him, pressing himself tighter against Rachel, unmoving, unbroken. Rachel whispers to Julia, he only obeys love, not fear. Julia nods, tears streaking her cheeks. For endless minutes the assault continues, shouts, threats, fists pounding. Kim texts her location to Bennett using an old cop code. Red code, hostile uniforms, evidence secured. Outside, a car screeches to a halt. A voice booms, different, authoritative. Police! Drop your weapons! FBI! Gunfire erupts in the parking lot. Rachel flinches, shielding Julia, while Kim braces herself for the worst. Valor stands like a stone between them and the door, not even shaking now, just watching. Rachel meets his gaze. He's ready to give everything for her. After what feels like an eternity, the door bursts open. But it's not Mason. It's two honest Minneapolis officers, guns drawn, FBI vests over their jackets. Down, they bark, clearing the room. Mason's crew scatters, retreating into the night. In the confusion, Brent Mason himself slips away, his face a mask of fury as he disappears into the darkness. Kim slumps with relief, holstering her weapon. The FBI agents check the evidence, radio for medical backup, and carefully escort Julia and Rachel to an armored van. Valor, panting but unhurt, never leaves their side. Julia whispers, "Is it over?" Kim shakes her head. "Not even close. Mason's still out there." Agent Bennett meets them at a secure location, a concrete-walled safe house. He listens as Julia, voice raw but determined, recounts the whole conspiracy. Kim hands over the files, videos, burner phones. Bennett's face hardens as he reviews the evidence. "This is bigger than we thought. We'll hunt Mason, but you all need to disappear for a while." Rachel and Julia share a look. There's fear, yes, but also a flicker of hope. They're not alone anymore. As the night fades, Rachel finally lets herself rest, Valor curled at her feet, Julia asleep for the first time in days. Kim stands guard at the window, eyes scanning the street. Outside, the city glows with neon and snow. The fight is far from over, but now, for the first time, Rachel feels the tides turning. In the early dawn, Agent Bennett promises, "We're coming for Mason, and we'll make sure no one forgets what he did." Valor, battered but defiant, finally sleeps, one ear always open, still guarding his new family. Snow whips the windshield as Rachel's car pushes north, the highway vanishing into a white blur. Valor rides up front, his head pressed to the glass, nostrils twitching at every new scent, every sign of danger. Julia huddles in the back seat, racked by nerves, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Kim drives, jaw set, eyes never leaving the road, her free hand always hovering near her service pistol. Julia's message had come just before dawn, a frantic text, words barely coherent. "I had to run. Mason knows everything. I'm hiding at the old cabin. Please come, I'm so sorry." There was no choice. Rachel had called Kim, packed Valor into the car, and they'd sped north into the blizzard, adrenaline spiking with every mile. The truth was obvious. This had all the signs of a setup, but they couldn't leave Julia alone, not after everything. The blizzard thickens, wind howling like a living thing. Kim's wipers claw at the ice. "This is suicide," she mutters. "If Mason's there—" Rachel cuts her off, voice tight with dread. "We can't let her die for telling the truth." Valor barks once, a sharp warning, then settles again, tense as a coiled spring. At last, headlights catch on a battered mailbox. The old hunting cabin, deep in the woods, where Julia and Brent used to spend weekends. The snow is knee-deep, covering any tracks. Kim parks behind a drift, kills the engine. The silence is suffocating, broken only by Valor's heavy breathing and the hiss of wind through the trees. They approach the cabin on foot, nerves raw. Rachel calls softly, "Julia, it's us." Inside, a single lamp glows. Julia peers out, face ghostly, her hand shaking as she unlocks the door. She collapses into Rachel's arms, tears streaming down her face. "I heard something in the woods. He's close. I know it." Kim sweeps the cabin, checks every window, every closet, her gun drawn. They barely have time to lock the door before a crunch of boots echoes from the woods. Valor goes rigid, a low growl building in his chest. Rachel pulls Julia behind the couch, Kim taking cover by the window. Outside, a figure materializes from the snow. Brent Mason, pistol raised, eyes wild with desperation. His voice slices the night. "You ruined everything, Julia. All of you." Rachel shouts, "It's over, Brent. The FBI is coming. We have your confession." "You can't run anymore." Mason just laughs, the sound broken. "You don't get it, do you? There's no one coming, no one cares. Give me the drives, give me the dog, or I burn this place to the ground." Valor plants himself between Mason and the women, every muscle taut, a silent dare. Mason tries his old canine commands, voice sharp, venomous. "Valor, down! Stay!" But Valor stands his ground, hackles raised, his body blocking the path to Rachel and Julia. "Damn dog never knew when to quit," Mason snarls, lifting his gun. Everything happens at once. A window shatters, snow billowing in. Mason fires, the bullet slicing through the air. Rachel screams. Valor leaps, body colliding with Mason's legs, jaws locking onto the arm holding the gun. The weapon discharges again. Rachel feels heat and hears Valor yelp, but he doesn't let go, dragging Mason down. Kim bursts from cover, tackles Mason from behind, wrestling for the gun. Mason throws her off, swinging wildly. Julia grabs a fire poker, brandishing it with shaking hands. "Leave us alone," she shrieks. Valor, wounded but undeterred, lunges again, pinning Mason by the throat, refusing to let him up. Blood spatters the snow as Mason struggles, the dogs wait, forcing him still. Sirens wail through the trees, blue and red lights flickering against the falling snow. The cabin explodes with activity. FBI agents, state troopers, local police swarming in, shouting commands. "Don't shoot!" Rachel screams, arms up, protecting Julia. "He's unarmed!" Agents rush in, cuff Mason, drag him away as he spits curses, face twisted with hate and defeat. The gun is bagged, evidence is collected, and finally, it's over. Rachel drops to her knees beside Valor, tears streaming down her face. Blood seeps from his shoulder, staining his fur, but he licks her hand, tail thumping weakly. "You saved us," Rachel whispers, pressing her face to his neck, sobs racking her body. Kim crouches beside them, voice hoarse with relief. "He's the bravest cop I've ever known." Julia, pale and shaking, lets the fire poker fall. She looks at Rachel, at Valor, at the agents cuffing her husband. "It's really over?" Rachel nods, though her hands are still shaking. "You're safe. We're all safe." The cabin fills with law enforcement, flashlights sweeping every corner, agents hauling boxes of evidence and ushering the women outside. The storm has eased. Snow still falling, but lighter now, almost peaceful. Rachel wraps Valor in her jacket, cradling his head in her lap as the medics check his wounds. "He'll live," they say. "He's lucky. He's a survivor." Kim hugs Julia tight, both of them crying, the weight of years of fear finally lifting. Rachel sits with Valor, watching the sky lighten over the trees, hope flickering for the first time in so long. As the agents load Mason into a cruiser, he locks eyes with Rachel. One last, bitter glare. She meets it without fear. "You lost," she whispers. "He beat you." For the first time in months, Rachel lets herself believe that justice is possible. The road ahead will be long, and healing will be slow. But tonight, in the snowy woods, surrounded by friends and a dog who refuse to give up, she feels a new strength settle inside her. The city is ablaze with headlines the morning after Mason's arrest. Rachel stands in her apartment, the world outside thawing from a long, bitter freeze. Valor is curled up on his favorite blanket, bandaged but resting, every rise and fall of his chest a living testament to survival. Kim paces near the window, her phone buzzing non-stop, messages from fellow officers, reporters, even old friends who'd once told her to let it go. Julia, quieter now, watches the news with red-rimmed eyes, a ghost of anxiety lingering on her face. The courtroom is packed for the trial. Cameras, journalists, families of fallen K-9 officers. There's tension in the air, a city holding its breath, waiting to see if truth can win in a place long corrupted by silence. The judge, a stern woman with gray hair pulled into a bun, orders quiet as the prosecution plays the videos Julia risked everything to obtain. The first shows dogs forced into the pit, handlers barking orders, police badges glinting. The second, Mason's own voice, issuing threats, orchestrating violence, counting cash with gloved hands. The crowd gasps. The faces of the jury are pale, horrified. Mason sits at the defense table, his bravado wilted, jaw clenched, sweat darkening his collar. Julia testifies first, voice trembling but clear. She describes years of terror, of secrets kept out of fear, how Mason turned their home into a prison, how she watched him destroy evidence and arrange cover-ups, how she finally found the courage to break free. Rachel takes the stand next. She describes the moment she found Valor, the blood, the badge, the note. Her voice cracks as she recounts the agony she saw in the dog's eyes, the hours spent nursing him back to life, the threats that followed. "He saved me," she tells the court, looking at Valor, who sits quietly at Kim's feet in the back row, a therapy vest snug around his torso. He saved us all. Then the judge calls Kim, who details her own K-9's fate and the years of rumors that haunted the department. We all heard things, but until Valor survived, there was no proof. People like Mason, they count on fear, but you can't kill the truth. The most powerful moment comes when the prosecution plays Julia's secret recordings, Mason's voice, cold and remorseless, admitting his crimes. For the first time, Mason breaks, his shoulders slump, his hands tremble on the table. As the verdict is read, guilty on all counts, there is a shudder of relief through the gallery. After the verdict, the judge addresses the courtroom. Let it be known that courage, be it human or animal, can dismantle corruption when enough people refuse to look away. The law will now protect those who speak out and those who serve, regardless of species. The city council moves quickly, passing Valor's Law, which extends legal protections to canine officers and whistleblowers, mandates oversight, and outlaws the use of dogs in fighting rings forever. The story goes national. Rachel receives letters from strangers who say her bravery inspired them to report injustices in their own lives. There are tears as the families of lost canines gather outside the courthouse, laying wreaths for those who never got a second chance. Rachel kneels with Valor, letting children pet his head, their parents thanking her for what she did, for what Valor endured and became. Kim and Julia stand close by, both changed, no longer just survivors, but leaders in the movement for reform. Rachel notices a man standing quietly at the edge of the crowd, Officer Troy Bennett. He nods once, respect in his eyes. You did more than save a dog. You changed everything. Rachel smiles. Valor did. I just listened. At a press conference, Julia bravely tells her story to the world. If you're trapped by fear, I want you to know, there's a way out. The truth hurts, but silence kills. I'm living proof. Her words echo through news stations and social media, emboldening others to step forward. Later, back at home, Rachel runs her fingers through Valor's fur, feeling the rough scars beneath the soft hair. You're a hero, you know that? Valor's only answer is a sigh and a nuzzle against her hand, his amber eyes calm for the first time in months. In the weeks that follow, Rachel joins Kim and Julia to help write policy, support grieving canine handlers, and speak at events about justice and loyalty. The city slowly heals, but it's not the same city it was. People look at each other differently, a little more open, a little less willing to stay silent in the face of wrong. One chilly afternoon, Rachel finds herself in Riverside Park, the place where it all began. She sits on the old bench, Valor at her feet, and lets the winter wind wash over her. She thinks about sacrifice, hers, Julia's, Kim's, but mostly Valor's. The pain and courage woven into every breath he takes. She feels the heaviness lift just a little. The story makes national news for weeks. Reporters call it the Valor case. Schools teach it in lessons about courage and the law. Survivors send letters to Rachel and Julia, sometimes just a single line, "You helped me speak out." On the walk home, Rachel stops to watch Valor play in the snow, chasing a ball with awkward glee, his limp a badge of honor, not shame. She smiles, hope blooming in her chest. They survived, and now, together, they're helping others find the strength to do the same. Spring unfurls slowly in Minneapolis. Patches of snow still linger in the shaded corners of Riverside Park, but crocuses have begun pushing up through the thawed ground, tiny flashes of color where months ago there was only ice and silence. On a clear Sunday morning, the city gathers in the new memorial garden, dedicated on the spot where Rachel first found Valor. The air is cool and alive, the sense of beginning mingling with remembrance. Rachel stands among a small crowd, Kim beside her, her uniform crisp but softened by the gentle way she holds Valor's leash. Julia lingers at the edge, a wide-brimmed hat shadowing her face. She's thinner, paler, but there's a peace about her that wasn't there before, the relief of a burden finally shared. Around them are families of fallen officers, handlers with their canines, and neighbors who watched the news and wept. A low, reverent hush falls as the ceremony begins. There's no grand speech, no fanfare. The mayor offers simple words about loyalty and courage, about wounds that take years to heal. But it's Rachel who feels the real weight of the morning. She kneels in the grass, letting Valor's head rest in her lap, her mind drifting back to the frigid morning when everything changed. She remembers the look in his eyes: fear, hope, pain, loyalty. The same look she saw reflected in her own bathroom mirror, night after night, haunted by the memory of her husband's murder and the knowledge that justice had always seemed just out of reach. As the memorial stones are unveiled, each carved with the names of both human and canine officers lost, Rachel feels her throat tighten. She looks around at the survivors, at the family members pressing hands to the marble, at the young officers with new dogs at their sides, faces tense but proud. She wonders how many of them carry the same scars, the secret kind, the ones you can't see but never really heal. Kim squeezes Rachel's shoulder. "You did good, Rach." Her voice is low, steady. "So did Valor." Rachel smiles. "He taught me how to keep going, even when I thought I couldn't." Valor shifts, pressing closer, his body warm and solid, a living reminder of the battles fought and won. As the crowd disperses, Julia approaches, envelope in hand. She's been living far away under witness protection, but today she's braved the journey back, unable to stay away. She presses the letter into Rachel's palm. "I wrote this for you. For all of you." Her voice trembles, but her eyes shine with gratitude. Rachel reads the letter that night at home, her hands shaking slightly as she unfolds the paper. "I chose the truth, and it set me free. I won't pretend it was easy. I lost nearly everything: my home, my marriage, the illusion that silence was safer than speaking up. But in losing all of that, I found something better. The knowledge that even one voice can change the world. Thank you for hearing me when no one else would. Thank you for saving Valor and for saving me." Rachel sits in her darkened living room for a long time after, Valor's head heavy in her lap, thinking about the meaning of survival. She thinks of her late husband, of the nights she thought about giving up, of the mornings when hope felt like something for other people. But now there's a garden where grief and love meet, and a city that's starting to change. The analysis on the news that week is deep and unflinching. Commentators talk not only about the corruption Mason orchestrated, but about the broader culture. The dangers of indifference, of good people looking away, of systems designed to punish the honest and reward the cruel. Rachel's story becomes more than a headline. It becomes a caution and a call to arms. The real fight, she realizes, is not just against monsters like Mason, but against the easy comfort of not seeing, not caring. Courage, she knows now, is quieter than the movies make it seem. It's showing up every day, bandaging wounds, yours and others. It's trusting that one act of kindness, one refusal to look away, can start a cascade of change. One evening, Rachel and Kim sit together under the blossoming trees of the memorial. They watch children play fetch with their dogs, hear the laughter of new families. "Do you ever wonder," Kim says, "how many lives were changed because Valor refused to be broken?" Rachel nods, eyes shining. "More than we'll ever know." He was hurt, but he never turned mean. He kept loving, even when it cost him. Kim looks thoughtful. "That's the lesson, isn't it? You don't have to be perfect to be good. You just have to keep choosing it, again and again." As twilight deepens, Rachel whispers, "I hope this place reminds people what courage really looks like. Not loud, not violent, just steady." Refusing to quit. The last of the sun sinks behind the trees, gold on stone, on grass, on the healed scars of an old German shepherd dozing at Rachel's feet. In the hush, there's a sense of something sacred, pain honored, courage remembered, hope planted for whoever comes next. And somewhere far away, Julia sits at a new kitchen table, writing her truth under a new name, her heart lighter than it's been in years. The lesson echoes through every silent moment of that spring. True community means facing truth together, refusing to abandon the vulnerable, animal and human alike. Healing takes time, so does change, but both are possible, and both start with one brave choice to see what others want to ignore. 5 years have passed since the night Mason fell and the truth clawed its way into the light. The seasons have come and gone, winters less harsh, springs more hopeful. Minneapolis feels like a different city. The shadows that once settled so heavily over Riverside Park have thinned, replaced by the laughter of children and the barking of dogs whose names no one will ever forget. Rachel Morgan stands at the center of the Valor Foundation's annual picnic, her hair streaked with silver, her posture taller than before. A circle of children clusters around a gray-muzzled German shepherd, his amber eyes soft, his movements slower but still dignified. Valor, the survivor, the hero, leans into a little boy's touch, tail swishing with gentle delight. For every scar beneath his fur, there are 100 gentle hands reaching out, reminding him and everyone watching that pain can become purpose. Rachel founded the Valor Foundation in the aftermath of the trial, a promise made real. What began as a support network for retired canines has grown into a national movement, helping abused animals and survivors of all stripes find safety, healing, and a sense of belonging. Kim sits nearby at a folding table, running a raffle for a year's supply of dog food, her laughter ringing out, lighter now, healed. Julia joins her for the first time in years, her identity protected, but her face bright with pride. The bonds formed in trauma have become something unbreakable. At the picnic's heart is the park-turned memorial, the garden where it all began. New names have been etched into the stones, canines rescued, officers redeemed, whistleblowers honored. Rachel leads a group of children through the garden, Valor padding at her side. The kids listen, wide-eyed, as she tells Valor's story, of pain endured, of choices made in the dark, of courage that refused to give way to cruelty. One little girl looks up, her hand nestled in Valor's ruff. Is Valor a hero because he's brave? Rachel smiles, crouching down. He's a hero because he kept loving even when he was hurt, because he protected people, even when it was hard. That's the kind of bravery that changes the world. The city has changed too. Valor's law, once a local ordinance, has spread nationwide. Canines are now recognized as true officers, entitled to retirement, medical care, and public respect. Whistleblower protections have strengthened. It's harder for cruelty to hide in the cracks. Police departments across the country have created oversight boards that include not just officers but citizens and animal advocates. New alliances, new eyes on old problems. Survivors are no longer shamed into silence. Rachel gets letters from as far as California and Maine, people inspired by Valor's story to speak up, to rescue, to rebuild. This afternoon, the mayor stands at the memorial and presents Rachel with a plaque for courage, compassion, and service. Cameras flash. Journalists ask, "How does it feel to see Valor's story touch so many lives?" Rachel answers honestly, "It means everything, but the real work isn't done." Laws can save lives, but only if we're willing to see and act. This is about more than one dog or one person. It's about all of us. Later, as the sun lowers behind the trees, Rachel gives a short speech. The crowd hushes. Her voice carries, steady but rich with feeling. Valor taught me that hope never dies. Even in the darkest hour, the courage to love and protect can change everything. You never know who needs you or how far a single act of kindness will reach. That's what makes a legacy, not perfection, but perseverance. The children cluster around Valor once more, and he accepts their affection with gentle patience. Julia wipes a tear from her eye, standing a little taller. Kim grins, tossing a tennis ball that Valor half-heartedly chases. Age has slowed him, but his spirit is unchanged. As dusk settles, Rachel's new husband, Michael, joins her in the garden. He places an arm around her shoulders. They watch families wander among the memorial stones, pausing at the names, reading the stories. Kim sits on the grass beside Valor, sharing a sandwich, telling him stories about the old days. Julia, for a rare moment, lets herself laugh in the open, no fear in her eyes. Before the night ends, Rachel kneels by Valor, stroking his graying head. "Thank you," she whispers, "for never giving up, for teaching us all how to start again." Valor looks up, tail thumping, old but proud. In that moment, surrounded by friends, family, and the community they built from pain and persistence, Rachel knows they have done something that will last. The city may change again, darkness may come, but the seeds of courage and compassion have taken root. People will remember, because they choose to remember. The picnic ends under a shower of golden autumn leaves. Rachel, Michael, Kim, Julia, and Valor gather beneath the oak tree at the heart of the memorial garden. There are hugs, laughter, a few tears. The camera captures a final image. Valor lying at the center, children's hands resting on his back, Rachel's smile quiet and full. As night falls, the memorial glows with lantern light. Rachel stands looking up at the stars, remembering everyone they lost and everyone they saved. She breathes in hope, clear and cold. The legacy endures, not because suffering is forgotten, but because love and courage refuse to let it have the last word.